this journey of dimensions of faith. Many times there is this common feeling that science deals with facts, whereas spirituality deals with faith. Is it so? How much of is it so? If it is so, let's dive in to crack the shell. It's just like if we have to, if something as simple as okay, throwing a stone, then we can actually give a projectile trajectory to it and calculate the equations of motion. Calculate the equations of motions. We can predict what will be the speed, where it will land, and so on and so forth. But now if this object goes to a cosmic scale or goes to subatomic scale or is a small virus or bacteria, then it becomes very difficult to understand what is happening. So this goes to show that no, everything in science also works after a particular box is defined. After a particular, so that's what we were been referring to as well. After a well is defined. So after a certain, so yes, once a small well is defined, once a box is defined, then we can say that okay, these are the laws of the box, and then we can try to make sense of what's happening in the box. But when we are interfaced with something which is out of the box, then what happens? Is it not? So this goes to show that there is no discussion of any science without the basic assumptions which define the framework, which define the box, the well. So all will be well once the well is defined, is it not? So how to get out of the well? That's the question. Oh, so that's the question. So therefore, we will understand, or therefore we can easily appreciate that yes, there is axiomatic truths which one has to accept at every scale of science. There are axiomatic truths which we have to accept at every level of science, actually. So it's just like okay, when we go to say subatomic particles, then to make calculations, we are assuming that okay, let's say that okay, the particles they only have not one body to one body effect, and so we shade off the multi-body dynamics, like that makes our calculations easy, we are able to calculate something, is it not? So, so the models are always based on assumptions, and assumptions can give us pretty, so that means that, the models are always based on assumptions, and whether these assumptions are true or not, we don't know, is it not? Like say for example, the entire quantum mechanics is based on, now even quantum mechanics is based on linear algebra. But then if particles are not following a linear motion, then how do we describe them? It's very difficult. So the entire matrix mechanics now will fail. It doesn't work because it's all based on linear algebra. So if the for non-linear systems, it's going to be even tougher. You can't even think of describing that. So we can understand that yes, there is no understanding, there is no standing in life without assumptions. And when we are talking about assumptions, we're talking about creating a, well, we say okay, that our approach to the understanding of knowledge is that we stand on one platform, and then we try to understand, and then we try to access, okay, what is the limits of the reality which I can interface, and then we try to actually expand our platform, or maybe create another platform, and then step on that and see, okay, how does the world appears from here, how does the world appears from here, and this is how we are going forward. So if this is how we are going forward in science, this is how we go forward in life as well. This itself is so. So this is basically this is basically the dimension of faith, and therefore the simple problem comes that actually without faith there is no standing. Unless we have faith, how do we stand on something, some box or some platform? And unless we stand, how can we access? And now, how do we access? Now, where is the question of accessing or measuring that what all we can see from here? And how do we get idea based on those measurements that okay, what should be the next platform we should go to? So that's faith. Is it that? So that means now, in fact, we see that when it comes to there is no question of any reality without faith. In fact, there is no question of life without faith. In so many phases and aspects of our day-to-day life, we put faith. Simple thing. For example, a man is looking for a good wife for his marriage. So many times you see people so marriage is a lifelong commitment. If you commit to marriage, but actually in 4, 5, 10 meetings, how much you can get to know about the person? Whether the person is faking, whether the person is hiding, whether the person is cheating. You don't get to know anything actually, is it not? And when there is a marriage breakup and all, it actually spoils the psychology for good long years, for a whole life practically, is it not? Some people do, like it's very heavy. So now, so that means marriage is a risky phenomenon because we really don't know the dynamics of what's happening at the other end. And we are committing our lives to that relationship. But just because we have no complete knowledge, do people stop marrying? That's the question. That is the question. Do people stop marrying? So faith is required. Then you see so then you see okay, then a married couple, they want to have children. Now that is another dicey game. What kind of a child will be born? Whether he'll be obedient, whether he'll be a muff, whether he'll be criminal number one, what is he going to become? What kind of mindset he's carrying? What sanskaras, past life sanskaras he is carrying? Nobody knows actually, is it not? It's only so therefore you see when a child is very small, every child looks very cute. But when this child, it grows, then one can understand, my God, so till the time, so when at least the child is 4 or 5 years old, then you can start seeing the traits. Is it not? Till the time the child is not speaking anything, and one doesn't get to know the traits of the child actually. So, but then do people stop producing children? Not at all. Is it not? So nowadays, the working sector, company working sector is such that a person may commit to a company, but there is no guarantee when he'll be thrown out of job. So on what basis should he maintain his enthusiasm? Any single day he can be given the yellow sheet, 3 months advance and kick off, or 2 months advance and kick off. Is it not? So on what basis he should move forward? Faith, is it not? What to say of job? Companies don't survive nowadays. We have seen here in KGP, Ajanta. So when people get placement, they are very hilarious, jumping up and down. We have seen some of the cases that the person has got job, 25 lakh package, ooh, first day, second day job, and and this person jumping up and down. Oh, I got first day job, first day campus placement, 35 lakh package, 25 lakh package. By the time he passed out, the company only collapsed. The CEO resigned. Everything got disintegrated. So that's the idea. That's the idea. We can understand that yes, without faith, we cannot just survive. Now, Miss, okay, faith is a necessary evil. Is it a necessary evil? Not at all necessary evil, actually. Why? Because faith is, now if you try to understand, just try to understand. Faith is the way by which we can go out of the box. So you see, in life, whatever innovations, whatever creative ideas, ideologies, everything, whatever has come out, any inventions, any superb artifacts which have come about, any products of creativity, imagination, all of them have only come about because people have gone out of the box, out of the routine way of thinking, out of the routine way of lifestyle, and tried out something new. And that became another staircase, you understand, where people can jump on and then access and see the world like that. Is it not? That's faith. Just like, say, for example, Wright brothers. The Wright brothers, they had a small desire. They wanted to fly. But everybody who used to know about their desire would ridicule at them. Hey, you will fly. So, but they were serious. That desire, came up and in the childhood. But then as they grew, they were growing with that desire. So they started doing some, playing around, doing some efforts to actually make that happen, to make a flying machine they can fly. And anybody would come to know about it, would ridicule them so much, create so much obstacles, make them a mockery stuff and all. So they started staying out of the city in suburbs so that nobody should disturb them in seclusion. But they went on and on and on and on. Now one may say, okay, why are you going out of the box? What is the proof that something you come? You're just simply wasting your time. You're simply wasting your life. In due course of time, decades of hard work, they could make airplanes. Gravitational waves. You see, Einstein postulated the mass energy equivalence. But that was his thought experiment. There was no physical experiment. The physical proof of it came just a few years before. Now, after 100 years of Einstein's thought experiment for hypothesis, and the team which did that, they won Nobel Prize for it, but they were focused on it for 30 good long years. 30 good long years. One may say, okay, if it didn't work out, it's a waste of their entire lives. But they went on, they made it happen, they got the Nobel Prize. So faith is the way of moving forward in life. So sometimes, therefore, if people say that, okay, spirituality involves faith, why should I put faith in all? Yeah, otherwise, if you don't put faith, you will be simply like a frog in a well. And nothing is going to improve, nothing is going to change, nothing is going to become better. In fact, things will worsen. But if we want, if we are ready for actually bringing about a positive change, one should embark upon, one should go out of the box to embark upon, higher and newer dimensions, actually. That's the point. And that readiness, that commitment, that guts, that is called as faith, actually. To tap, the dimensions out of the box, and therefore to create such a platform that humanity can come on, following and then access a reality in a better picture, in a better view. So that means that it's not that one who is not putting faith, one who is putting faith is blind. Rather, the opposite is true. One who is not ready to put faith, not ready to explore the out of the box, such a person is blind, stubborn, like that. So that's the point actually. It is stubbornness, the unwillingness to change, the unwillingness to explore new frontiers, which kills humanity. It is not creativity, but it is stubbornness which kills. Actually, we see in everything actually. Like say for example, one time uh, I was just reading some tips for writers. They said, who is a writer? Who is a person who can write? They said, okay, a writer is a person. Very nicely defined, very nice definition. He said, writer is a person who sees the uncommon in the common, who sees the common routine day-to-day activities, but from a very uncommon vision. So who sees who sees the ordinary routine activities, but with a very extraordinary perspective or light. Same thing you will see, okay, people are, same household activity, company going activity, but he will see it from a different twist. And when he present that twist, that becomes a story. Is it not? That becomes a novel. That's the point. So the material concept of life, comprising of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, that is the box. Is it not? As long as we remain on this box, everything is programmed. Everything is programmed. We are no better than animals. Rather, we are worse than animals. That's because this is the box. This is the very routine thing. This is the very instinctive behavior. Eating, sleeping, mating, or defending. This is the very box. So what is out of the box? Yeah. So out of the box begins when one starts inquiring about, life. Where did life came from? What is the goal of my life? How has this creation come about? What is the goal of the creation? Is it not? And therefore, we are making the point that dharma begins with dharma begins with, see, the Vedas. The Vedas. There is a summary of the Vedas in the form of sutras, which are called as Vedanta Sutras. In that, the Vedanta Sutras are like formulas. E equals to mc square. Hi is equal to E psi. So if you say like that, if you list down the spiritual formulas like that, then that is Vedanta Sutra. They actually are the essence, the condensed essence of the entire Vedas. Now, so the first aphorism or the first sutra is Atahato Brahma Jigyasa. Atahato Brahma Jigyasa is the first sutra. It says Atahato. Ataha means therefore. So this formula begin with therefore. Atahato Brahma Jigyasa. Therefore, Brahma Jigyasa. Inquiry about the Supreme Lord. Brahma Jigyasa. Inquiry about the Supreme Lord. So Ataha, therefore. Now, so why is this sentence beginning with a therefore? What is coming before? What is coming before? But the formula is therefore inquire about the Supreme. Atahato Brahma Jigyasa. So dharma begins with Brahma Jigyasa, inquiry about the Supreme Lord. And why it is said therefore? What is coming before? So the reader who is reading is a human being, and therefore what is coming before is the birth of a human being. Therefore. So the Vedas are saying, okay, you have got a human body, you have got a more advanced intelligence. That intelligence should not be used in routine instinctive activities of eating, sleeping, wearing, defending. Inquire about the Supreme. When you inquire about the Supreme, you will go out of this box. You will go out of this programming of the three modes, which incriminates you into more and more complex type of entanglement, and in that way incriminate you in deeper and deeper kind of suffering. So therefore, dharma begins when we inquire about the Supreme. What is the purpose of the creation? What is the purpose of the creation? Now, okay, what you're seeing here is New York City. Uh, the most happening place in the world, New York. And now we are giving a thought experiment. So just imagine that an aborigine from the Indian tribes happens to land up in New York all of a sudden. So probably he was ill, he was taken in an unconscious state, and now he was taken in an unconscious state, and he came back. And now he's seeing New York. He became all right. He's seeing New York, and so what is this aborigine going to think like? He's going to say, "Oh, this New York, this place is so amazing. It must always have been there. Like no, these buildings would have been always there. Just like just like I have seen in the Himalayas, there are mountain ranges and all. These are all also different kind of ranges. Always these ranges would have been there." So yes, an aborigine can think like that. But if this is taken as a resolution, and if this is passed, as a publication in IEEE, who is going to believe that? Who is going to believe that? Yeah. Any educated person, he will not believe. He will say, okay, this city is not like Himalayan mountains, which had been existing all throughout. The city must have come by the efforts of architects, countless architects and craftsmen. Its beauty is coming by so much intelligence, so much of hard work, physical and intellectual, and design. That's how it is coming. That's how it is coming. Now we may say, okay, both have not seen how New York City has come about. One is coming, this educated man is coming from Europe. He doesn't know what happened in New York. And the aborigine is coming from India. He didn't know what is happening in New York, is it not? And both are just seeing, the buildings. That's it. So how did it came about? Is it not? How did it came about? So now you see, now we may say that, okay, is it not, both ways saying is a matter of faith? Because we are not experiencing it. Now, if you say, okay, this New York City has been built by ingenious architects and civil engineers with thousands of dedicated workers. So one may say, okay, well, yes, fine. And if another statement is saying, okay, this New York City has been always existing like this, or once upon a time, there was a time where nothing was existing, and then there was Merry Christmas, and then after the Christmas, the people got up after celebrating Christmas. The next day there was New York, buildings are up there. So one can say, well, both are involving faith because we are not having any experience. So that's true that we don't have any experience of the genesis of New York City because we were not standing there and experiencing, that the grounds being dug, the buildings being built, when was the first building, when was the second building, and all that. But is it difficult to choose what should be the right conclusion? For us, it's not very difficult. Why it is not difficult? Why it is not difficult? Because we have a better knowledge and a better exposure than the tribal aborigine. Is it not? We have a better knowledge and better exposure than this tribal aborigine. And therefore, we are able to understand things much better. Is it not? See, that's what material knowledge can do. So we can say that yes, now we can see things now in a deeper and higher dimension than a tribal aborigine. And that may be true. When it comes to that may be true. So similarly, we will see that when we project it further, Now, when a person takes to spiritual knowledge, then his perspectives are going to become much better. And with that perspective, one will be able to put faith in a proper direction. So, this highlights a very interesting and important point, that yes, faith is compulsory for living, is it not? Faith is compulsory for life, is it not? But a person who has better knowledge, he can put faith in a more right direction, actually. So therefore, we always have the choice where to put faith, is it not? Faith is compulsory, but where to put faith? So now, but now what we can testify is what is a reasonable faith and what is an unreasonable faith. New York City, coming out of a Christmas celebration, or coming out all of a sudden, or New York City eternally existing like that, that is also faith, but unreasonable faith. New York City built by civil engineers, reasonable faith, is it not? So, and what is the differentiating factor between reason and non-reason? That is knowledge. So this goes to show that to be able to make the right choices in life, we actually need a higher dimensional knowledge. Therefore, spirituality is absolutely important for a proper life. Otherwise, we will never be able to differentiate between reasonable faith and unreasonable faith. Like that. See, even a drunkard, takes his steps, by putting faith. But his faith is absolutely unreasonable. Why? Because he is not at all. He has shut down his intelligence. He shut down his thought process and knowledge process. So a drunkard, may come and stand in front of on a railway track. So he is having faith that the train will come and the train will stop. Looking at me, or I will tell the train, oh, stop, and the train will stop. The drunkard is thinking like that. I'll tell the train stop and the train will stop, because he thinks, I am Spider-Man, or I am, whatever, Macho Man, Spider-Man, Batman, whatever man. So he is thinking that I am superhero. And if I tell the train to stop, or if I touch the train like this, the train will stop. And if I, push it like that, the train will go back. So he's thinking like that. He has faith in that. But because his knowledge systems are very corrupted, so he is putting faith in a very unreasonable avenue. What is going to happen? He will be dead. The train will run over him. Is it not? He is committing suicide. So that's a problem. So sometimes people say, okay, so now, you see the point? The point is, without faith, we cannot live. In fact, without faith, there is no positive improvement. But if you put a wrong and unreasonable faith, it is like committing suicide. It is very destructive. So therefore, we can start to understand and appreciate how important is spiritual knowledge. Okay, so we are zooming into the European man. So here the point is that, you see, even now, even a small cell, one single cell, is more complicated than a whole New York City. Now, when we are saying that, okay, the entire New York City cannot come like that by chance, it is not eternally existing. There has been a design, there has been maps, there has been designing authorities, there have been development authorities, there have been thousands of people working to make it happen. A small cell is more complicated than New York City. This is what scientists give the comparison. So how can a small cell come by chance? Yeah, like that. This is the point, actually. So there has to be an intelligent creative behind. So this is faith, no doubts. But this is reasonable faith. If New York City cannot come by chance, how can a cell come by chance? If New York City doesn't come about by a bang, you know, how can the universe come about by a bang? Is it not? You know. So we have to understand this is how we build up into understandings of life. It's not that we have to be analytical. It's not just that okay we have to be analytical only when we are giving JEE maths exam, or when we are solving our mid-sem end-sem exams to get grades. When it comes to life also, we have to apply that same kind of rationality and reasoning and analytical power. Is that not? And spirituality enhances that understanding, enhances that reasoning power. That Vivek Shakti is enhanced by spirituality. Just like the Big Bang Theory. Now, mechanics science says, okay, Big Bang Theory is, so, according to, the Encyclopedia Britannica, the Big Bang is described as, that, okay, everything is coming from a point in a very simple word. And this point is, we may say, okay, ये point किधर है, किस तरह का point है ये, just tell some points about this point. So, okay, this point, we'll tell 3 points about this point. The first point about this point is that okay, this point is physically undescribable. It's physically undescribable. Means you cannot tell the dimensions of it, you cannot tell the morphology of it, you cannot tell the shape, shear, whatever, anything out of it, physically undescribable. I say, okay, but can I make some sense of it? They say, okay, this point is, the second point about this point is that this point is completely out of our experience. It is beyond all concepts of space and time. It's okay, beyond all concepts of space and time. The point कहाँ है, किधर है, कब, क्या, क्यों, कैसे, कुछ नहीं. Okay, then we say, okay, then okay, is there an equation which can actually tell and I said no. This point, the third point about this point is mathematically unverifiable. Mathematically also you cannot verify it. So what kind of point is this? And what is the point in believing in this point? Is it not? That's the point. So our point is, what is the point in believing in a point? In such a point actually. So what is the alternative? Vedic Shastra talking about. Vedic Shastra telling the universe is coming not by a Big Bang. The universe is coming because of the big brain. And the universe is coming because of the Supreme Lord, whose expansion is Mahavishnu. And because of Mahavishnu, the Big Bang, the universes are coming. In fact, the universes are coming out of the pores of the body of the Mahavishnu. They are actually coming from the person. Now, what is more logical and reasonable? Point or person? That's the point. Is it not? That is the point. Yeah, the human body is 30 trillion cells, and these cells can regenerate themselves. Okay, so therefore, okay, let's keep it here. So therefore, we have to understand, okay, what is a reasonable faith? Faith has to be reasonable. Faith has to be reasonable. So now here we come to the point that now faith has to be reasonable, and therefore when we talk about faith has to be reasonable. You see now even in day-to-day life, say for example, even in day-to-day life, there are many things. The world moves very much on predictions, probabilities. But you see, there is a science behind what you can consider as probability, significant probability, insignificant probability. And so yes, we can make predictions, but then we along with prediction, we are calculating also confidence level. So we take the spectrum, all kinds of data, like in statistics, there is population. Population is having thousands of entries. Now each one we cannot evaluate. We'll take some 50, 100, 200, 500 samples. And we'll evaluate them. You can calculate a reading, a value, and then actually project the conclusion which you derive from this onto the whole population or onto the whole world. But then, in that also, what is done is that, so that's probability. Statistics very much plays with probability analysis. Now, But the point is that the probability comes along with the confidence, is it not? So that confidence decides actually whether it is reasonable faith or unreasonable faith, is it not? But there are predictions actually, when we are typing in, Google is making predictions, when we are going to Amazon is making predictions that, okay, what are this person's taste patterns? He will only show those kinds of ads. Flipkart is doing the same thing. Everybody is just trying to understand us and bombarding us with something, which we are getting, say, a psychic connection actually. Based on our psyche, we are getting that connection to buy. Is it not? So these are all predictions, but they are reasonable predictions. Why? Because there is a whole statistics behind it, and there are whole calculations behind it. So in the same way, we see the faith in scriptures is also built up in that same fashion. Therefore, actually, you see, therefore, the faith in scriptures is built up in the same fashion, like that. Now, we can say that, so therefore, you will see the Vedas are not just giving us some, only spiritual principles and phenomena, which will take a good amount of time, or which will take a good amount of practice to be able to realize. But the Vedas are giving us everything. They give us material gifts. They are giving us metaphysical, so gifts on the material reality, gifts on the metaphysical reality, gifts on the subtle dimension, gift on the level of the soul. Everything the Vedas are giving us, is it not? So therefore, we can see now on the material scale, many gifts of the Vedas are just outstanding, and there is no comparison to them. Like say, for example, Vastu Shastra, like say, for example, Vedic mathematics, Ayurveda, yoga, meditation, the effects of that the whole world acknowledges, is it not? That's what naturopathy, so the effects of that the whole world is acknowledging. And so these are gifts of Vedas on the material scale. But then when it goes further, then there is, then also we can see that actually the principles which are given by Vedas are very well grounded. And that's why you see, say for example, Bhagavad-Gita. Now, Bhagavad-Gita has been appreciated by people from all walks of the society, by scientists, by philosophers, by politicians, by common people. Everybody has glorified. So even a social, so Mahatma Gandhi used to glorify Gita, and he would say that, okay, whenever he gets confounded by problems and there's darkness all around, he opens the page of Gita, he sees a light coming out from there, and he sees a solution of his problems. And so similarly, scientists have talked about it. Einstein talked about Gita. So now, so this goes to show that actually the principles which the scientists are, which are spoken about, so it is being appreciated. Gita is appreciated as one of the books to emulate for when it comes to actually human dealings. Say for example, management. People are very much fond of it. They say, okay, management by ethics, and the ethics are coming from Gita. So psychology, the understanding of the mind, the understanding of the subtle cries, the understanding of the anarthas, how to relate with people. All these principles are coming from Gita. So in this way, we can understand that, okay, the principles are very well grounded and very well thought of. Like say, for example, one of the principles, beautiful principles in the Vedas is that Vedas say that, okay, what should be the matrix of Vedas say, okay, what should be the matrix of or parameter of calculating or evaluating how advanced a society is. So if you want to calculate, okay, how advanced a society is, then what do we, so then how we will calculate, okay, how advanced the society is again. What is its GDP? How many industries? How many research institutes? No? What is the parameter? What is the parameter Vedas say? Vedas say that you have to measure how much the society or the civilization is taking care of, serving, respecting, worshipping five kinds of people. So Vedas say if you have to mark, okay, how civilized is this society, or or how advanced is this civilization, just see how much these five kinds of people are taken care of, how well they are taken care of. Who are these five kinds of people? Uh, Women, children, old men, cows, brahmanas. So the Vedas are saying the barometer of a civilized society is that these five are going to be worshipped and taken care of very nicely. Then that society is advanced. If to the degree they are not respected, worshipped, and taken care of nicely, to that degree that society is animalistic and degraded. This is the injunction. This is the aphorism of Srimad Bhagavatam. Ah, now just on hearing we can understand, what are the powerful principles and pillars the Vedic civilization is based on, or the Vedic measurement metrics are based on. These five kinds of people: children, old men, not very productive, cows. Cow is a soft animal. Cow is a very delicate animal. Cow cannot do very heavy tasks, like a horse can do or a donkey can do. Cow is a soft animal. Brahmanas, similarly, Brahmanas are more thinkers. They're not physically very, robust. They are mostly thinkers, austere people, self-sense controlled people. Brahmanas, they cannot do too much of, physical work. Probably they cannot have, what is that, 8-peg, 6-peg, 8-peg body. But they can, think long. They can give right directions to us. Uh, uh, Similarly, woman needs to be protected also. So to that degree, these five are protected. Actually, that society is more important. So the rules are very well thought of. Similarly, actually, Bhagavatam tells that, okay, if you want to get rid or get out of the miseries of this life, then four kinds of dealings will help you. So Bhagavatam, Narada Muni is speaking this beautiful conclusion. Narada Muni is telling, if you want to get out of these, the miseries of life, follow the four kinds of dealings. The first, he's saying, rejoice in the virtuous. Second, he's saying, rejoice in the virtuous. Make friendship with the righteous. Be compassionate on all. Be compassionate on the innocent, and devilish people, maintain distance. Like that, devilish people, avoid the devilish people. So here, there is this very beautiful science of dealings being taught. He's saying, rejoice, be happy when you see people more qualified than yourself. Don't burn yourself in envy, by comparing, criticizing, so don't burn yourself in that envy. Be happy when you see the virtues. Happy because we can get something to learn. We are getting a good friend, is it not? I mean, you're getting a good practical life, good example, positive example, is it not? So we can be happy. So be happy. Then make friendship with the righteous. Don't have don't try to be in the competing and pushing the equals down, pushing the contemporaries down. Make friendship with them, like that. Be synergetic, work together, make teams, make friendship, is it not? That's what is being taught. Not that compete them down, somehow or the other push them down by hook or by crook for yourself to rise. That's the modern day outlook, but that's a modern day habit. But the Vedas are not telling like that. Then those who are innocent, or those who are less qualified, then how to deal with them? The generic notion you see in the world is that people deal with them with the spirit of exploitation. But there it is said, be very compassionate on those who are innocent, those who are younger, those who are lower in quality. But then there are some people who are really devilish. Just avoid and neglect them. Be distant from them. So science of dealings. You see, these So very well thought of, is it not? You see this principle, so amazing and so well thought of, foolproof, you know, amazing and well thought of. Now, okay, let's go to this example. Uh, so you have seen this example before. This is the example of a rasgulla, is it not? So now the question is, the problem statement in the mechanistic scientific laboratory is that how does, I mean, to just mine out or shell out some properties of rasgulla. What is this rasgulla all about? So one may be a PhD in chemistry and he may say, okay, that let me try to adopt my analysis approach, type 1, type 2 type of approach. And then he's making his analysis, okay, these are whitish, brownish globules, like that. So basically they are aggregates, like that. They are amorphous aggregates. Let me do viscosity analysis. Let me do the colloidal suspension analysis and so on. So whatever colloidal parameters you're going to get, and whatever experiments you do with variation of various parameters and all that, I mean, all that is something looking very dry and very much lacking with the very spirit of a rasgulla. What is a rasgulla? We don't have to do H1 NMR or no, to understand, okay, the elemental analysis. I mean, what are we going to do with those elements? Is it that, whether how much carbon is there, how many valencies are being used, is it no, is it is it a cyclic chain, or is it no, a non-cyclic chain? What are we going to do? What are we going to achieve by all that? All that is sounding very miserable, is it not? What is a rasgulla? So we may not need, one may need, the simplicity and the innocence of a small child. A child can better explain what is the rasgulla. How? Because the way of the way of the measurement or the analysis of the child is not through, the H1NMR, uh, is not, so that's the point. The child is not analyzing by that, or not by measuring some colloidal suspension properties and all that. The child just puts a rasgulla in the mouth and he says, okay, I can tell rasgulla, very tasty, very nice. That's how you can describe, is it not? So this goes to show that mechanistic science is a well, it's a box wherein we are assuming some things, and therefore some things we can explain, but not everything we can explain. So therefore, the same mechanistic of science, when we apply towards the human body, then the mechanistic science is okay, that we our emotions are just chemical secretions. Now whatever logic and results are being passed by that, we can understand that, we can easily understand that we are not just these chemical secretions. Is it? If one says, sir, I mean, what about the love I feel for my mother? Is it just serotonin? So, no, or endorphin. Uh, if you say, okay, then okay, if it is said, okay, that okay, your love for your mother is just 5 milligram of or 5 milliliter of endorphin, serotonin. One may say, come on, this is not digestible, is it not? So there are dimensions which are beyond, is it not? And we need a greater knowledge to be able to make sense of the dimensions within, the emotions, the feelings, uh, so the emotions, the feelings, is it not? So uh, uh, that's the point actually. So therefore, you see, say for example, a person is very morose. It's not that you give him an injection, then he'll start laughing. Now suppose his some near dear relative is dead, therefore he's very morose. You give him an injection, will his misery go away? No, is it not? Will not go away, right? So therefore, one has to go beyond the perspectives of the external mechanistic way of perceiving reality. And the Shastras are explaining. Therefore, therefore, when the Shastras are saying that this is just the gross body, which very much correlates with the mechanistic way of relating with things, but then there is a subtle body, which is constituted of thinking, feeling, willing. So that is coming from the subtle body, and the subtle body contains sanskaras. It's like software algorithms. The scripts are there in the subtle body, like that. And below that is the soul, the driver. Is it not? So yes, things can be automated, and the soul may not come and intervene. And therefore, a person may just go on behaving like an instinctive machine, which happens to condition people. Is it not? Like a greedy person, he goes on fixed scripts of greed, toward degradation, self-destructive people, angry fellows, lust people, so owing to all those traits, those are like scripts. Once they start working, then a person gets overwhelmed by that. But if the soul wants, he can intervene, he can shut down the system, he can cancel the print command or the execution command. Is it not? So now these purview which is given in the scriptures is simply amazing. Is it not? This purview is simply amazing. So scriptures are made with amazing, well thought of details like this. And scriptures are made of amazing, well thought of details like this. And and when we interface that, when we interface the Shastras, then we can see that our life becomes much more better, because the better knowledge we have, we can understand that okay, this is the direction in which the putting faith is going to be more reasonable. So the Shastras are definitely the way, rather the only way, because our perspective becomes so much broadened. Like say for example, the Shastras are mentioning that there are economies in the mode of ignorance, there are economies in the mode of passion, there are economies in the mode of goodness. Now I may say, wow, economy in the modes, yes. So you have studied modes before, right? The Satoguna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. Economy in the mode of ignorance means what? That okay, I will be successful by killing and suppressing. Let me oppress all other people, and by in that way killing and subduing them, massive destruction, by creating massive destruction, then I will prove myself to be a super power or superior. That is economy in the mode of ignorance. Vispotatmak, vinashatmak, vispotatmak, that is mode of ignorance economy. Just like what these people like Marx did, so their whole or the killing of the Nazis, which they call as Holocaust, so the killing by the Nazis, the Holocaust and all that, what is called as. So all that is the power by, or success by, or victory by ignorance, because creating destruction for people, massive, gruesome, bloody destruction. That's economy in the mode of ignorance. And we are seeing the disasters and the dangers of that. We are seeing presently the disasters of that. The Shastra says this is economy in mode of ignorance. Economy in the mode of passion. Economy in the mode of passion is based on, again, exploitative drives, not very gruesome, bloody, but a continual exploitative drive, cheating, one who is smart enough, one who can fool around people enough, he's successful. The underlying fabric is exploitative drive. That means the engine which is running, the fuel which is running in one's engine is that of lust, greed, envy. That is so that is the economy in mode of passion. So what we can see this now the modern day metrics of the world, how to make money and all goes by this drive, mode of passion. But then there is extreme misery, there is extreme tension, the rich become richer, I mean, the poor become poorer. So there are a lot of problems with this approach also, is it not? Economy in the mode of goodness, the Shastras are talking. In the mode of goodness economy, what happens is that whatever capacity, whatever capacity this, that okay, if whatever skills one has, one selflessly offers it to others, and I like that. And everyone does that, and everyone does that. Then that economy is mode of goodness economy. And can you imagine? Everyone, whatever skills one has, somebody is very sharp, say at very good cook, so he will cook for the whole village. Say for example, the whole community. Like that. Somebody is growing, say, rice. He knows how to grow rice. Suppose, he's expert in that. So he is making rice. He's growing rice for everyone. He distributes his rice to everyone. Like somebody is making very beautiful clothes. He stitches clothes for the whole village. Like that. So in this way, and selflessly, without expectation of any return, no barter, no business, all those economies are down, this is, service economy. He just wants to serve, and everybody is thinking like this. So in this economy, everybody is going to be ecstatic. Everybody is going to be very happy, very prosperous. No bitter, no bloodshed, no heartburns, no anxiety, no tension, like that. Only enjoy. This is economy in the mode of goodness. The Shastras are explaining this, and this is only possible when one heart is rid of the anarthas by surrendering to God. Then only one can feel the whole world as one family. Whose family? Krishna's family. Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Krishna's family. Krishna's family. Yeah. So by a superficial mechanistic approach, is saying, see, another example is given after Rasgola, is a computer. He's saying, okay, a computer can tell composition, cannot tell whether the painting is beautiful or not. But a small child can tell, it's beautiful painting, is it not? His parents can tell. So why? Because soul is there, right? Now we may say, okay, AI can tell painting is beautiful or not, but AI is built on human data only, is it not? So the human intelligence is encoded in the form of weights for a neural network, and that's how it is calculated. So that the neural network is just like a function, and that function is trained with the human data, and that's how the AI can tell. So uh, uh, ultimately, there is a subtle force, not deep, not deeper and subtle dimension of force. That is the soul. That is the soul. So we can understand that in this way, the scriptures, the Shastras, are giving us the best algorithms of life. And therefore, one should not hesitate in following them. Therefore, one should not hesitate in following them. Uh, uh, so the Shastras are giving us the best algorithms. Just like say nowadays, if you want to learn say any programming language, one has to one doesn't learn by so one refers to actually say for example if you have to learn any language, every now and then you will refer to Stack Overflow, you get stuck up in the bug and all, you just type the error and all, it will give you the solutions. So we are so we are learning by connecting to the repositories which are storing the best practices, the best algorithms, the most efficient ways of doing things, the most efficient patterns. And when it comes to life, this is exactly what the Shastras is giving us, is it not? Like when we want to refer to anything, we refer to Google, say for example. Why? Because the Google is embedding the best algorithms now to basically rank any particular given search and give the best ranked outputs to a person. And we believe in them, is it not? And we take it. So we are always looking for, so life moves forward when you accept the best practices, not some rudimentary life. Is it not? Not some rudimentary life, but more evolved, more best practices. And Shastras are exactly making us do that. Uh, because the span of one life is short. Now, for no, see, with experience also one can learn some tips and tricks. We have seen, people who are the atheistic, who are not referring to Shastras, when they go ahead in life, they get some kicks, they get some brunts, and then they are able to come up with some morals and some ethics. And you will see those ethics are all a subset of what the Shastras are saying. So one has to go through a long and troublesome journey of experience to be able to get some little principles, which are anyways one can get very easily by referring to the Shastras. And referring to Shastras is not blind, because by imbibing it, we are experimenting on it, because now we can see it how it works. Is it not? By experience. Is it not? So hit and trial experiment will or hit and trial experience of what works, what doesn't work without any previous guidance is going to be very troublesome, and we are going to get some meaning out of it after decades and decades, but that will be very small. Whereas if one hears from Shastras and then leads a life, then all those principles can be testified when one is applying it. Is it not? But it is a very straight and sure shot way of testifying, most efficient. In that way, we can make so much positive progress, or so much speed in evolution, towards evolution or advancement in life, like that. So just like there is an interesting story about blind following, but okay, one should not be a blind follower. So one time, a soldier was passing by, and he saw there was an old man, and this old man was crying and wailing. He had worn black clothes and he was crying and wailing. So he had worn black clothes, he had shaved off his head, and he was crying and wailing. Like that, shaved off his mustache, shaved off his head, only the beard was there, and he was wailing and crying, black clothes. And he was crying, Sargal Singh is dead. My dear Sargal Singh, Sargal Singh, Sargal Singh. Oh, Sargal Singh is dead. Oh, Sargal Singh is dead. And the soldier, he thought, oh, Sargal Singh is dead. The soldier also became very solemn, He went near, he said, I'm very sorry, sir, sorry to know Sargal Singh is dead. He said, Are you don't know Sargal Singh is dead? Oh, Sargal Singh is dead. What will happen of life? Sargal Singh is dead. The soldier was not knowing who is the Sargal Singh, but he thought, okay, this old man is crying like this. Sargal Singh must be very important man, And he was thinking, if I speak, who is he? If I ask who is he, I'll be, it'll be very embarrassing, because maybe it seems that Sargal Singh is a very important person. So actually, out of the social norm, he also became very upset, the soldier, So what he did, he also, shaved his head, shaved his mustache, he was wearing a black, wore black clothes, and he went into the army regiment. And the soldier also started crying, oh, Sargal Singh is dead, Sargal. What will happen now? Sargal Singh is dead, Sargal Singh is dead. Now his regiment, everybody saw, oh, Sargal Singh is dead. Oh, we never knew who is this Sargal Singh. Oh, who is this Sargal Singh? Everybody, and they were just watching this fellow's crying, like that. All of them wore black dress, then the whole regiment, and they all shaved up their head, and everybody started crying, Sargal Singh is dead. The head of the armies, they came, they saw, okay, whole army battalion is crying, Sargal Singh is dead. He thought, I don't know who is Sargal Singh, maybe some very important man, very international figure or something, So the minister started crying, So now the minister went to the court, and he had worn black and all that, and he was crying, the minister, he was crying, like that. And the king asked, sorry, what happened to you? Who is this? The Sargal Singh is dead. Sargal Singh is dead. And the king, the minister said, you don't know the king. The Sargal Singh is dead. Now how will you live? Sargal Singh. The king was wondering, who is Sargal Singh? Like that. And the king thought maybe some very important international man. So the king also, started getting tears in his eyes. He was also thinking of wearing black and all. In the court, actually, there was a small child. He happened to ask, oh, who is this Sargal Singh? And everybody looked at this child as if they will kill him. You don't know who is Sargal Singh? The child said, no, I don't know really who is Sargal Singh. Please tell me. And now who will tell? Because nobody knew who is Sargal Singh. Like that, there was a big hue and commotion. But finally the king said, at least tell though. Okay, I also don't know. I also don't know. I also don't know. 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 So they started tracing back. Kaun hai Sargal Singh? Then they went to the army regiment. They went to the first soldier. And then the first soldier, that old man, and then they went to that old man, and then they went and asked him, who is this Sargal Singh? He said, you don't know Sargal Singh? Oh, Kali has come. You don't know Sargal Singh? Sargal Singh, my goat. Sargal Singh was the name of the goat, actually. The goat died. So this is called as blind following. No, this is called as blind following. So, so, so spiritual life doesn't fit into this category at all. Why? Because no, why? Because in spiritual life, when you follow, you can see the efficacy of it. Spiritual life is not like saying that okay, Sargal Singh is dead and crying and passing on your or sharing your tears with others and making others cry also. That is not spiritual life. Spiritual life is about medicine. So how to put so if so okay, the doctor is telling you take this medicine, you are seeing okay, it is a red color, a green color capsule. So what exactly it is, we don't know. Is it not? But then we are accepting because we have faith. We can testify the credentials of the person. In this blind following, that old man, what is his credibility? Nobody tested. People just adopted. Is it not? So here one can test. Here we are testing the credibility of the physician. The second important difference is that when you take it, you get free from disease. Is it not? You can see for yourself, and then you can share it with others, saying that yes, it works. Is it not? Spirituality is like a medicine, like that. But now the interesting point which comes here is that so this is all good and all fine, but those who outright reject spirituality, those who outright reject the scripture saying that it is outdated, there are better so they are very much like this these people who are saying Sargal Singh is dead. But they are saying okay, scripture, God is dead, God is not there, there is no Saturn, there is no God, this there are no scriptures, they don't work in our. If you apply, then apply and see for yourself. But without any experimentation, if one is making the conclusion and prophesizing that conclusion, then is that not blind? So therefore the point is that accepting spirituality is not blind, it is reasonable faith. But rejecting spirituality outright is completely blind. That's the point. That's the point. So that's the point. Yeah. And therefore Thomas Huxley says that there is a third thing in this universe, to wit, to consciousness, wit, which I cannot see to be matter of force, not like that, which is, yes, let's go out of the box. And we will not go so slow as these scientists. We can go much faster and surer by accepting the verdict or accepting the principles of the Shastras are giving us, and then very easily following it, and then seeing for ourselves how it works so powerfully and profoundly. Let's stop here for today. This is the first dimension of faith. Okay, do we have any questions? Okay, so we'll stop here for today then. I thank you for your enthusiastic participation. So, so while you are having these holidays, we wanted to explore this amazing dimensions, these amazing dimensions of faith, and then there are some quite interesting and adventurous programs also, which we are planning for you in this not 2 weeks or this 10 days drive, before your college begins, like that. Thank you. Hare Krishna.